Hi everybody, welcome to our special early signing day Swampcast. I'm Robbie and Andreu, beat writer for the Angel Sun. With me, Graham Hall, the recruiting guru for the Sun. And Graham, Dan Mullen was smiling today, very happy. For him and his staff to do what they did in a little over a month is pretty remarkable. And then to come up with Emory Jones on today was huge.
Actually, absolutely. He should be ecstatic with how today went. The big two keys for Dan Mullen and his staff are, one, getting Emory Jones, getting the quarterback of the future, a guy that he can envision running his system, a guy he's very familiar with. Didn't have to make up a whole lot of ground with Emory Jones despite being in the job for just 3 weeks. He was the very first coach to offer Emory Jones back when he was a 14-year-old freshman, and that goes a long way. We always talk about committing to a program, but at the end of the day, recruiting does come down to relationships.
Yeah, and he had one.
Absolutely, and they knew each other very well, and his mom was comfortable, so that's the only way that this really could have worked, where you could see a guy like Emory Jones flipping his commitment from Ohio State this late in the process. Really, you don't see that very often, but when you examine the scenario around it, you totally see how Dan Mullen was able to pull it off. Florida fans should absolutely be ecstatic. Number 2, dual threat QB ranked by ESPN. Yeah. You don't just get a guy like this any day, and you don't get it by any coach for 3 weeks. The circumstances are so rare that it's kind of, they're going to look back on this in a few years and see, wow, that's a home run signing for him.
The big thing, Graham, is they've got him early now, signed, and now the rest of this class they're going to put together is going to look and say, you've got this really potentially special quarterback already there. That's going to help recruiting the second phase here over the next month or so.
Absolutely. Having a guy locked into the fold, and they get a chance to reevaluate their board for the next 6 weeks, but having him as kind of that flagship name, so to speak, is really huge for Dan Mullen, because you have a selling point. You have, for all the wide receivers that have dropped out of this class, you have a name that you can actually give them without, any uncertainty lingering in there, and that just goes a long way. And you're really going to see over the next 6 weeks, they're going to sit back. I know that it's a no contact period till January 11th, but they're going to sit back and reevaluate which guys they can get in this class. But I think this is really the start of kind of the uptrend for Florida's recruiting class.
Now you can go back on a Copeland and maybe sway him back, because you've got the quarterback in place and not a lot of other receivers. So I mean, I think it just sets up well for the future. Then you've got him coming in early as an early enrollee. He'll be competing for that starting role in the spring. So, and if his skill set is what Mullen's looking for, he has a chance to be the day one starter.
Absolutely. A guy like Jacob Copeland, the staff has stayed in contact with. There's no, it's still within the realm of possibility that they can get him, but they're going to reevaluate everyone on the recruiting board, and having him, like you said, just gives them an absolute name that they can sell. It's a selling point for everyone else. Anyone that was kind of questioning whether Dan Mullen would kind of, pull the whole class together, this is the two big things, is they got Emory Jones and they kept everyone together. They came in today expecting 12 guys to sign, and they got all 12. That is an absolute home run, especially when you look at some of those other programs out there like Tennessee, Florida State. They definitely didn't do as well, and they definitely are kind of programs going through coaching hires. So when you put everything in perspective around the SEC and around the country, Florida is definitely one of the ones that came out in a brighter spot.
Yeah, and to me it's kind of a remarkable job they've done in such a short period of time. Not only did they go and wrap up the guys that were already committed, but they went out and got an elite quarterback and an elite safety on today. So just a great job by his staff. And if they work this hard the next 4 or 5 weeks, it's going to be a huge class.
Absolutely. The attention should turn to them filling out the rest of their staff so that they can have names to give to the rest of these recruits by the time they hit the trail. That is the biggest thing here. They've already told some of those defensive line guys that they're targeting an NFL defensive line coach, but pretty soon they're going to have to actually give actual names to some of these guys. That's the priority before they hit the trail again January 11th, and I fully expect that we have all 10 assistants in the picture by January when this comes into play, because you can't really hit the trail in the last 3 weeks without telling everyone who they're committing to. This early signing period is very weird when you think of a lot of the guys who signed are taking a big leap of faith, not knowing who exactly will be their position coach. And you haven't really seen anything like this. So for Dan Mullen to sell a lot of these guys not knowing who would be their coaches is really big, but that's not going to happen in these last 3 weeks, because every other program is going to have their staffs filled as well, and there's not going to be any uncertainty.
No, and like Mullen said, it's going to be fluid for a couple more weeks still, but by the time they hit the road again, he'll have everybody in place. Everybody will know who they're recruiting and who's going to be their coach, so that's definitely going to help a lot. But overall, Graham, I think just a Florida fans should be ecstatic of the way they pulled this thing together here.
Absolutely. A lot of positive momentum for probably the first time in a few weeks here.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, and I know people got upset with the Corral decommitment, but that was the best thing for Florida, the best thing for Corral.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that people, they see decommitment and they assume the worst, where there's a lot of things where it just wasn't the right fit for both parties, and they both made that very clear. Now, I know that a lot of it has been made about that, but really it's not as big of a situation as it was made out to be, and now kind of shown that a lot of people worried for not.
Yeah. But it's kind of weird though, Graham. 2 signing days, so we've gotten through one. Now we'll be back for another in about a month. So that'll be the end of our Swamp special here, and had a good time and a good day for Florida. Robbie in for the Games of Sun with Graham Hall. We'll see you in a couple of weeks or a month.